February 14th, 2023. I thought my life was over. It started on a good old Tuesday, waking up as usual, but I didn't feel quite the best. I was a little bit under the weather. But we went to the gym anyway, because that is what we do. I had a few good rounds. It was a sparring session. A few good rounds. I was feeling very confident. I was sparring with one hand though. I had a broken hand, so I only had one glove on. Looking back, probably shouldn't have been sparring then. I then took a head kick. That head kick didn't see much of the time. It gave me a little buzz through my body, a little bit of a shiver. I had to go down like that for 5 seconds, get my thoughts back, and I was just like, oh, good shot, mate, good shot. Carried on like usual. Did about 6 rounds, I'd say, after that. So another 30 minutes of sparring. But little did I know that changed the course of my, I don't really want to say life, but changed the course of my next few months, especially with training, because it affected my vision. Long story short, it affected my vision, it affected my speech a little bit at the start, it affected my hearing, cognitive, vestibular, if that is how you say it properly, and auditory. It is a little bit like vertigo, so you get off balance. I was very off balance. When it was big crowds, I struggled being there because I'd get, yes bro, because I'd struggle with so many people moving at once because my eyes would get confused. And this was all down to one head kick that was not even hard. I've been hit 10 times harder than that. But there was some things that I could have done to prevent it. The main things that I had to do in order to get back to where I am, that is why I have actually come out to Thailand, is to help focus on the recovery of it. I'm on my very later stages of it, but the early days was a tough one where it was hard to leave the house. I'd struggle with sunlight, and because of that I would get extremely tired, and then my vision would start going. And then the other aspects or other symptoms would come along and follow suit. The main things that I did was I got a physio routine, and by that I didn't make the physio routine up. I went to a specialist. I paid £350, I believe, for my first appointment. I got a diagnosis of what my concussion mine was, because concussion is like a car crash. You crash your car and someone else crashes their car. It's going to have different things to fix it. That's the same with concussion. We can't do the same elements to improve or same exercises as other people, because sometimes concussions are slightly different. So you've got to do the ones that are suited for you. So that was the first thing I did, a physio plan. Next thing I did was with my diet. And they tried a non-inflammation diet, and I followed it to a T. A lot more than when I'm fighting. When I'm fighting, I cheat my diet all the time because I know I can just run a little bit and burn those calories off. But for this, I was all focused on the inflammation within my gut. So that was a massive, major, I'm going to say major play in order to get back with the recovery, because your gut and your brain have a massive connection, and your gut is like your second brain. Yes, boss. Next bit I did after that was with my supplements. So I started taking my lion's mane to help with the neurons, and as well as that, magnesium and creatine. So I upped that through. But another big factor was increasing my tolerance to exercise. Even now, I've got to be a little bit careful, but not what I had to do before. I'd struggle running at this pace, very slow, for 10 minutes. I'd get headaches for days. So I've had to slowly implement a training routine, I'd say, to get my heart rate up to those standards. Now, last time I've tested it, I could get in the red zone for about 24 minutes, no symptoms after. Symptoms I'd get is compression headaches. That is why I've come out here to concentrate on getting back to those harder rounds of wrestling, because that's what I avoided at first. I wanted to do my own training so I could track it a little bit more. I remember the first time I tried to up it, I was in bed for 2 weeks after. But the main reason I'm going to get on here is to try and let people know about sodium. People think sodium is a bad thing, but sodium is a good thing. It is a brilliant thing. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't get it, but it would have prevented me from getting concussion. There's a difference between concussion and post-concussion syndrome, so PCS. PCS is what I have, so it's concussion symptoms that last over a month. Mine has been 11 months and I'm pretty much out of it now. I've had to train myself out of it. But if I took the right amount of sodium levels before that sparring session, potentially I could have avoided this. And just because you are peeing clear, it doesn't mean you are hydrated. What the sodium does, it allows the water to get into your muscles and your blood and hydrate you properly. But the main thing is, it allows the cell membrane to have a protection of fluids. When you don't have the salt, the water can't go into that cell membrane, so it's dehydrated. So when you get hit, your brain rattles against your head. But when you are hydrated, you've got a fluid around your head, and the way you get hydrated is having the sodium to allow the water to enter into that cell membrane and stop the vibrations of your brain against your skull. That is why when you have a cushion around it, you are less likely to get concussion, because your brain is not going to hit your skull. It's going to hit that water and it's going to have that sort of protection. So sodium is massive. People supplement tablets every morning, but people don't supplement sodium every morning. And that is what I do now. Every morning, even if I'm not training or not, I'll make sure I'm having sodium. I'll have sodium during my sessions, I'll have sodium after my sessions to make sure I'm fully hydrated. This is where tests can come into play if you want to know exactly how much sodium you sweat out per hour on average, but that is totally up to you. But that is the main thing, especially like now. I'm in Thailand, hot country. I'm going to be sweating a lot more. If I didn't put these electrolytes back into my body, all the water I have, it's going to be harder to absorb. So electrolytes is a massive, massive play in order to keep good brain health and to prevent those concussions. This is just a little first video of the concussion story as a whole, but I think I'm going to do a little series of concussions videos now and again of diet, going to the diet in a much more detail, going to my exercises in much more detail, other ways to prevent it. Sodium is the main one, but this is just the first little story about my concussion. And now we are in Thailand, 11 months later. I'm doing 2 sessions a day. I've done 2 sessions a day now for 5 days. I've not done that since February, so for 11 months. And that is not by myself. So I'm training with other people that are pushing me. There's a difference between training with yourself at a gym and training with other people in a wrestling or jiu-jitsu environment, because you can't control the factors. You can't control the speed all the time. Whereas when I'm training by myself, if I feel, oh, I'm feeling a little bit dodgy in my head today, I can slow it down. But now I'm going into that environment where I do not have the controlling factors all the time, and that sense of unknown of what each round is going to be like. But that is the stage that I'm at. I'm now at that stage where I can comfortably do that. My next bit is literally, I want to be able to get to wrestling, an hour of hard wrestling and no symptoms after whatsoever. And that's when I will believe I'm ready to go into proper sparring again. I've sparred since now, but I don't want to spar on this trip just because I do not know the people I'm sparring with and I don't really trust them. And it's that uncontrollable factor that I don't want to play into, especially when it's punches at the head. But I'm not far off, not many months off that. I've come a long way in the fact of my progression, and I can comfortably do rounds in jiu-jitsu and wrestling without having to worry about I'm going to be wrote off in bed with compression headaches and eyes going all fuzzy and weird and that is from progressive overload. Just like training and getting bigger and lifting weights, I had to do exactly the same. I had to increase my tolerance back up in order to defeat this PCS, post-concussion syndrome, something that I never heard about before. But now I've come so knowledgeable, I believe, in these factors and these areas, and it has made me more knowledgeable about other things and made me want to take other routes to know more about my body, my health, and improve certain skills. Yes, I've literally just been walking in a loop because it is a much better view than my apartment. But today's video was a little backstory of my last 11 months and why I've been so quiet in the fighting scene. And the most important thing for me was do not rush it and be patient. That's something I struggled with in the first 4 months. I was not patient. Every single day I'd walk out my house thinking, have I got symptoms today? Am I better yet? And I just had to come to a realization where if I'm never being acceptive to the fact that I've got PCS, it's going to slow my recovery down. That's something I got from Eric Uresk. I've got to accept what has happened and get on with it and do everything I can in my willpower to get back into that cage, which will be happening. I can see the end route. I have seen the light at the end of the tunnel for the last few months, but for anyone else that is going through PCS, let me tell you now, for the first 3 months, I did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. I did not see no light. I thought it was over. And people might say it's dramatic, but it feels like I was dying. If you've gone through it yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. But any social interaction was very hard because I'd get so confused and my brain couldn't really take it, if you want to put it like that. Even looking at a computer screen too long, if loads of things were moving, my eyes couldn't keep track. So this 11 months has been a long way, but now we are back on the training mats and we're pretty close. We're pretty close to getting back in there. But this one is like I said, a personal story that I'm hoping, not for everyone, some people can relate or get inspiration from or whatever. For me, when I had it, I would look for people that had it as well, that had comeback stories. There's a lot online that people have PCS and they have no comeback story with it. They just say they've got it for the rest of their life, but you've got to be ready to not accept that this will be your life forever and that only you can change that. And that is from getting the necessary things and putting the necessary things in place. I've spent a hell of a lot of money in order to do so, to go private, but it is not wasted. I've probably spent over 10 grand in order to get back. And sometimes watching people that haven't, I'd say, been able to get back to what they once were, it is, I'm going to say, it puts a lot of doubts in your mind. A lot of doubts when you see people, and it puts you in a bad mood. I'm going to say it like that. But that's today's video. Bish, bash, bosh, pow.